Hi viewers, I'm your host Tahir Gora in Candid Talk at Tax Studio. Today I'm joined with a very dynamic politician who's seeking nomination in Ottawa region, and the specific name of the riding is Nepean. I'm here to welcome Lovina Srivastava.
Well, thank you, Tahir. Thank you so much for having
Welcome.
me. And a very warm welcome to all of your viewers out there.
So I would like to ask you to introduce yourself to our viewers, please.
Absolutely, I will. So my name is Lovina Srivastava, and I am from Ottawa. I moved to Canada in 2000 with my husband, and I have two teenage children now, a boy and a girl, and both born and raised in the riding of Nepean. That's where I'm seeking nomination from. And professionally, I'm a high-tech professional. I'm an engineer, and I've worked at various places, including Department of National Defense and BlackBerry, and I run my own consulting company now.
As I can see in your brochure, that you have done so much for the community, for the party, and for this beautiful country that you and I and all of us share today, which is a paradise on this planet.
Absolutely. I actually consider it my privilege to have experienced two very wonderful, beautiful countries that are on this planet, right?
Absolutely.
So coming from India and flourishing in Canada. Right?
Absolutely. And you know, I tell you, India is a beautiful, beautiful country. Whenever I go there, I don't find any match for that wonderful place as well.
So true.
People full of energy, full of politics. So as East Indian over here in Canada, we are too much, sometimes I feel, including myself, into politics.
I think everyone should be. It's like this, right? So I always believe, and I have always been interested in reading about politics, even when I was in India, right? I think my earliest memories of reading the political section in the newspaper, it's when I must have been like 10 or 11. I've always read, I always wanted to know what's happening on the political side, right? So for me, it's not a choice. No one has the choice to stay out of politics, because even if you decide to stay out of politics, politics will get to you.
Absolutely.
Right? So if it has to get to you, why not just be a part of it?
I can see you as a person and as well as a politician who believes in passion, who believes in good governance in politics. Sometimes we use negative connotation of politics. We think that politics is kind of leg pulling each other, but actually it is not.
No.
Politics is a very noble thing if we work on the ethics of politics.
If you do it right, absolutely. So for me personally, actually, that's a good segue into me sharing with you what the word politics means to me. Very, very short definition for me. It means public service.
Absolutely.
Right? And I know I already talked about what I do on the professional front and what my family life a little bit, but what really defines me is the social volunteering work that I have done over the last 17 years. I have been involved on diverse on various things, actually. It's be it social causes, be it cultural causes, professionally as well as politically. So if you allow me some time, I'll talk a little bit about each one of those.
Absolutely, why not? As I can see over here, you served as president in the Nepean Women's Liberal Association. And then I can see executive vice president, Nepean Federal Liberal Association, and it goes on. And sure, why not? We should talk about your contributions in the society for the communities,
I will.
for your party.
I will. So when I came here, like I said, ever since I came here in 2000, my philosophy always has been to, if someone asks me for some help for the community, something needs to be done. If I have the skill, I would put myself forward to do it. I may not always have had the time, but it's okay. Like time is something, you know, I'll just sleep maybe a little bit less that day, right?
Right.
It's if someone needs help and I can do it, then I'll do it. If there is a time where something is required, there's a gap, and I myself cannot fill it, then I have in past also encouraged other people to get involved and fill that gap. So. Like I was talking, you I think covered pretty well the political volunteering aspect of my volunteering life, but it's in addition to that. When I came here in 2000, I was working in the software quality field. I asked around some colleagues at the time, because those are the only people I knew, right? I said, okay, is there a software quality association in Ottawa? And everybody looked at me and said, no, there isn't. So I kept asking, and then one day I was in the kitchen, I still remember making my tea and I was chatting with this person and asked the same question. He says, yeah, I know, I've been wondering about the same thing. I said, right on, I found my first person. So it's it then grew, and 6 of us, we co-founded Ottawa Software Quality Association, and I served there as director of programs in a voluntary capacity, of course, after which I was offered to chair Ottawa's SPIN, which is Software Process Improvement Network. So that's my contribution on the professional volunteering side. It's what drives me, what has driven me over all these years to be involved is my non-ending desire to learn. It's
Beautiful.
It's just it's amazing. Like whichever opportunity, volunteering opportunity I look at, I have come out of each one of that. Well, of course, having contributed something, but from each one of those opportunities, I have learned something as well. I have evolved as an individual.
So you said you arrived in Canada, you landed here in 2000.
Mm-hmm.
When did you join Liberal Party?
Actually, it took me a while to realize that I'm liberal, to be honest, right? Because I mean, initially, as you know, I was, well, we didn't have voting rights, right? So until we became citizens. So
right.
Once we became citizens, I've always believed that it's, you hear this term, right to vote.
Right.
I do not agree with that phrase. I always say to people, it's not a right to vote. It's every person's responsibility to vote, right? So when we became citizens, my husband and I, that was, I believe, the first time, that was in 2005. That was the first time I actually started looking at the parties, and I said, okay, where do I fit in, right? So which party do I associate most with, right? Again, it's my belief, no one can be 100% liberal or 100% conservative, right? So you're kind of in, you know, the band is there, right? So I identify most with the Liberal Party, and that was the time, like I said, 2005. My active involvement with the Liberal Party started a few years ago, but I have, you know, like I said, it's been a great journey. It's been a great journey.
You believe in economic growth by creating high quality jobs. Mm-hmm. What else you believe in?
So in addition, so this is actually what I'll share. I'm full of stories.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sure.
There is always a story behind every statement,
absolutely.
right? So when I started my campaign, a lot of people asked me, what's your platform? What are you running for? I said, you know what? I don't have a platform. And I said that, there was a little bit of a lie in there. I had a platform, but what I did not want my platform to be was, I did not want it to be a creative piece of writing that I wrote down in 20 minutes sitting in my office. I wanted my platform to reflect not just what I think as being important for the riding residents, but what was important for the riding residents themselves, right? It's a very multicultural riding. People have, you know, people who live in the riding, they come from various ethnic communities, from various phases of life, and their needs are different too, right? So although I do have the opportunity of bringing, you know, different perspectives, that's not all, right? So what I'm going to share with you, Tahir, now is a combination of what I think as priorities, as well as what I have been hearing from the residents. So a couple things in addition to the economic growth is, well, one is obviously healthcare. So anyone who lives in the Nepean riding, excuse me, they would know that over the last so many years, although the healthcare facilities in the riding have increased, have come to the stage that they are right now, it's the population of our riding has increased exponentially. It's just because it's such a great place to live with such great people, right?
Absolutely.
But it's so what has happened is the infrastructure, the healthcare facilities are not sufficient to cater to the population, right? So we need to expand that beyond what is there. We need to improve the facilities, not just for general public, but also for seniors, for instance, right? So again, as I'm sure you appreciate, different cultures, different communities, they prefer to look after their seniors differently, right? And we have to provide those options. We have to facilitate those options. I am also a firm believer that, okay, the government doesn't have to do anything, but the government definitely has a responsibility to facilitate things, right? So, there's a lot of energy in Nepean riding. There's a lot of, very driven, very motivated people. We just have to harvest that motivation, give them the resources, and by doing that, we will facilitate what they would like to see for themselves, right? And so that's, I think I've talked enough about healthcare, but on curriculum, on education front as well, there are two aspects that I'd like to talk about specifically. One is, coming from high tech, I have experienced it myself, but I've also heard it from residents who are not from high tech, is that the curriculum in post-secondary institutions is not, in all cases, it's not aligned with the industry needs as well as it should be. So what has happened over the course of past few years is that the curriculum has progressed at this pace and industry has progressed at this pace. So with every passing year, you can only imagine the gap is increasing, right? It's not rocket science. Like, we definitely can even use technology to help education pick up the pace, right? So in today's world, it's not about what you can do, it's about connectivity, right? It's about how you can connect those different skills to come up with a creative solution. And I'm always thinking about, how we can do that, how can we connect, how can we help education pick up the pace for technology industry by using the technology itself. The other very important aspect of education is the bridging programs, and I feel very passionately about it. I have seen firsthand people coming from foreign countries with foreign degrees as first generation immigrants, and taking up jobs that are not at par with their educational qualifications. It really breaks my heart, it does, because it's not serving anybody. It's not serving the individual, it's not serving their family, it's definitely not serving the society, because we're wasting that skill, right? Someone has invested 10 years in getting to a certain point in their career. We absolutely, as a society, have a responsibility to help them, not by telling them, well, you know what, you have spent 10 years there, well, okay, now that you have come here, if you want to reach the same level, you got to reinvest those 10 years. That's not fair, right? We got to come up with some bridging programs that these people can take use of and or make use of, and then get themselves to the same point.
You said very well, when we do not help new immigrants integrate in their field, in their society, they are not as beneficial to our country, neither beneficial to themselves. It is our duty of political parties and the governments.
One of the other things that I very strongly feel and believe is that to do something great, we don't have to do something huge, something big, right? Small things sometimes can make huge impact, right? And it's how do we figure out then which small things to do that will make the huge impact? It's a very simple formula. Listen to people. Be receptive to the ideas. if park your ego on the side, right?
Right.
You know, that's the thing.
Listen to
It's
your own heart.
Listen to your own heart and listen to the people who you're representing, because this is a public service job, as you very well know, right? And this is a job where it says you will, you know, I'm striving to become the representative of people. So if I'm wanting to be the representative of people, there is no humanly possible way I can do that without being connected to the people. And how do I get connected to the people? Is to hold town halls, create think tanks even, right? So, I mean, for the benefit of the viewers, I mean, the town hall is something where the person who's your representative is going to be present, whereas think tanks can work behind the scenes and it can, like if the right think tank is established, it can really speed up the process of deriving feedback from the residents and taking it forward, right? So not just that, so that's one-way traffic, right? And it doesn't work. We have to kind of give back to the community as well. Many a times, and it has happened with me personally as well, we do not even get to know of the programs that are available to people. Right? So increasing that communication, improving that communication, staying with the times. And you very well know what I mean by that, right? So the social media, right? So just use that to the maximum benefit of the residents. That is, make them aware of, you know, this is coming up, or, you know, you may benefit from this, you may benefit from that, you may qualify for this, right? So just making them aware, because so many programs, they get allocated money, and many a times it doesn't even get used, right?
It was a pleasure talking to you about your vision and about your passion, and I can see amazing qualities and an amazing person.
Thank you.
Within yourself.
Thank you so much.
And we need politicians like yourself, because politicians who should believe in serving the people, not just for like kind of coming into the politics for the sake of politics.
True, so true.
So good luck to you, and we are sure that you will win the nomination, hopefully,
Well,
and then you will proceed as our next MPP from Nepean.
absolutely, inshallah.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Lovina.
you so much, Tahir.
Thank you, and all the
Thank
best.
you. Thanks.
You just watched Lovina's talk, and I'm sure you could see her passion. Thank you for watching today's Candid Talk at Tag Studio.
#1 multicultural channel. This is Tag TV.